travel back in time to the 80s, reliving the shenanigans.
It was the early 80s, and sex was still a good way to meet new people.
The disappointment.
Now, that's a real shame when folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
And the self-confidence.
I'm 6 foot, 3 inches tall, and maintain a very consistent panda bear shape.
Because just like you, we're stuck in the 80s.
Sure, it's not 1985 right now, but who knows what tomorrow will bring.
Hey, welcome to Stuck in the 80s. It's your host, Steve Spears.
And Brad in the Caribbean.
And today we give you a special bonus episode of the podcast. It's our interview with Joey Fairchild of the 80s Cruise as we reveal the special theme nights for the 2020 voyage.
I am the monarch of the sea.
Stuck in the 80s is a member of the CLNS Podcast Network. You can find our podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and the CLNS Media mobile app. And, to be fair, if you're listening to this now, you may already be aware of these things. However, please don't forget to listen to our podcast at the CLNS Media website. You can find it at clnsmedia.com. And, as always, we plead, please, if you love the show, share the links on social media. And don't forget to like our page on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Hey, Brad, this week I had a chance to catch up with Joey, our buddy, the production manager from the 80s Cruise. He had a really interesting summer. I'll let him reveal the news on that.
You mean he does things other than just hang out on cruise ships and wear Bill and Ted outfits and stuff?
Apparently.
Huh. Well, that'll be exciting to hear about.
Anyway, this week, ECP, which is the company that produces the cruise each year, finally revealed the theme nights for the 2020 voyage.
The sold-out 2020 voyage.
That is correct. The cruise is officially sold out now. Your days of listening to us voice promo after promo about it are pretty much at an end. But you can still join us. There's a waiting list for cabins. From time to time, people have emergencies pop up and they need to trade in their cabin. And then what the cruise will do is they contact the people on the waiting list. Pretty straightforward. So that's your only opportunity. If you were waiting on a sale, that's not going to happen.
So, Steve, I read the theme nights announcement, but I do have some questions. Was Joey able to clear things up for you?
Yeah, we went through all of them. There are 3 new theme nights this year, so that's something else to look forward to. By the way, if you're not going on the cruise and you're wondering, are these guys going to talk about anything else this episode? Yes, we have full seggies after the interview.
Yeah, baby.
So sit back and let me and Joey explain the theme nights you'll be enjoying on the 2020 voyage of the 80s Cruise. Hey, so we're back here at Stuck in the 80s with Joey from ECP. Joey, how have you been?
Steve, how you doing? Everything is good. Happy to be here with you again. Thanks.
Great. ECP just announced the theme nights for 2020. So we have that to talk about today. What else have you been up to this summer?
Yeah, it's been a busy summer for me. I don't know if you knew it or not. I know we touched base on it a little bit, but I actually took most of the summer and I was on tour with Queen and Adam Lambert as their stage manager. So that took up most of the summer, North America, 25 shows across the U.S.
Wow, I had no idea. How cool.
Yeah, my background is touring and all that, and every now and then I just get the right call, and if it's the right tour, makes sense, go out. And this year was a year that we were looking into a lot of new technology, a lot of just new video product and all that. And so I was touching base with a lot of people I knew, and that led to one thing, and I got the call for this, and it all lined up. So I kind of eat, sleep, and breathe the 80s as it is, being on tour with Queen and running the 80s Cruise.
How much interaction did you have with the band members?
Quite a bit. Every day we'd see them during the show. All really great guys. And I got to say, Brian May, probably just the sweetest, nicest guy I've ever met. Every day he would not only thank the touring crew, but thank any locals. It would take him 10 minutes to leave the stage to get back to the dressing room because he'd just be stopping and shaking security guards' hands and anyone who was kind of around.
Any city in particular stand out to you on the tour for any reason?
Madison Square Garden, we did 2 nights there, and you can never go wrong there. It's just such an iconic, great venue. Audiences were great there. We did 2 nights in the Forum in L.A., Man, everywhere was really great. It was just one of those tours, especially coming off the momentum of the movie, that everyone was just so excited about it. It was sold out everywhere. The crowds were crazy. So it was just a lot of fun.
So something else that's going to be a lot of fun, obviously, are the theme nights for the 2020 cruise. They were just announced. And so I'm happy to have you here to kind of walk us through the thinking of each night and kind of give us some tips. So let's run down what you got going on for the theme nights for 2020.
Theme nights 2020. Theme nights for the 2020 sold out cruise, as it is.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So, last week or a little more than that, we announced the theme of the prom, which was punk rock prom, which we had all of the incoming seniors kind of vote on. We had kind of six ideas that we gave them on the ship as juniors. They all talked about it, narrowed it down to, or all voted, and then we took the top 3 from there and then sent it out to them again in like a email poll, and they all voted again, and the winner ended up being punk rock prom. And from that, we got a few other ideas, and they had a lot of write-in ideas as well, which leads to some of these other ones. So that's kind of punk rock prom, but it's still going to be prom. I saw some comments and people saying, well, we hope it's just not all punk rock and that kind of stuff. It's still going to be, a typical 80s cruise, a typical 80s party.
Earlier this year, Trial by Fire actually played the prom, right, for the Enchantment of the Sea dance?
Yeah, so they did. They played this year's prom, and we are going to have them, again, play the punk rock prom. We figure they're just a good fit, and they are really good about playing a little bit of everything. I saw some of the guys actually reaching out to the fan page and asking what they wanted to hear, and so they're making their playlist and all that. And one thing we should kind of talk about with the theme nights in general is the entire cruise as it is a theme, right? We're already going on to the 80s cruise, so the 80s cruise is the theme, and then the theme nights are just to help make some of those nights a little bit different, a little bit special, but nothing is a must. There is no rules, and everyone can kind of do what they want. They can take a theme night and go as full on as they want or as little as they want and make it their own. So there really is no rules with these. These are just kind of suggestions.
So what else is on tap? I think I saw the Pop Icon Nights returning again.
Yeah, you got a couple of those theme nights that we feel like we just kind of have no matter what, because even though we've got returning guests, we have a lot of new guests as well. And if we didn't have these, we just feel like we'd be kind of cheating them. So the big costume night is 80s Pop Icon Night. That's the one where everyone kind of brings it, and that's everything from, 80s celebrities, 80s music, 80s movies, 80s toys. We've seen people dressed as Rubik's Cube. We've seen the Smurfs. So it's really anything that was iconic and just really takes your mind to the 80s, and that's that big costume party night. Another one is Back to the 80s night, which is one we always try to do. That's one of those that's just an easy one for some people. It's kind of one of those nights where you can come however you want it to be in the 80s or however you were in the 80s. We see people not wear costumes that night and actually pull stuff out of their closet that they still own, or you see people just wear 80s T-shirts. So it's just kind of an easy night. So those two we're bringing back. And then we've got 3 brand new ones as well. So we're going to do Nerds and Jocks, which, of course, is a nod to Revenge of the Nerds and all the famous jocks and nerds that were in a lot of the other movies. So like we've seen on some of the other cruises where we have kind of different competitions and stuff, we know we're going to see some of the guests dress as nerds, some of them dress as jocks. We plan on doing a couple big pub crawls that night. Same thing where you've got a nerd pub crawl and a jock pub crawl. Maybe they'll all meet together, see what happens there.
Nice.
A bunch of games, stuff like that. So that should be a fun night. A few people actually suggested that one a few years ago. And then, a lot of people kept saying they wanted to see more MTV, and we're even doing some write-in ideas. So we took their ideas, combined it with some of our ideas. So we're going to do the 80s cruise Salute to Spring Break. This would be pretty much just like it sounds, and this would be kind of the first time we've done a theme night kind of from day till night. So we'll start out the day at the pool, very much 1986 original Spring Break with original host Alan Hunter. So he'll be there doing lots of pool games. We're going to, of course, have Jesse's Girl playing that day and night sometime. We're going to have Trial by Fire playing. And it's going to go throughout the day. So that'll be a fun one. That's going to be the one where you'll see a lot of people wearing all their swimwear and whatnot, sporting their MTV looks for the daytime, and then carrying that on into the night. It again be a pretty laid back, chill kind of evening for everyone, which you need on the cruise. You can't go full on costume every night. So we're looking forward to that one.
Great. And then there's this one that I think is the most interesting one of all. New Year's Eve 1980 party. What is going on with that?
So again, this is one where a few ideas from people, a few ideas from us, and then you and I even talked about this one and didn't know what to do. But we really started embracing it and like it. So we're going to do this, and we're going to be kind of clever with it. So New Year's Eve 1980. What we're going to do is at 11 p.m., we're going to turn the clocks back to 1979. And you're going to hear that music. You're going to see those kind of things. And then we're going to start our countdown. Now, the cool thing we're going to do is we're going to really concentrate in 3 areas of the ship when this happens. So we're going to have 3 different venues hosting 3 different parties with 3 hosts. And what we're going to do is we're going to simulcast the parties into all the venues with video and live streaming and whatnot. So you're going to have the main stage, which is going to be your big concert kind of feel, and you're going to have one of the MTV VJs there counting that down. And at midnight, we'll have a big concert, and then we're going to have the club feel, where we're going to have a big party in there. Again, one of the MTV VJs counting it down. We hit midnight, go into a big party, and then the promenade, which we've been talking about on the new ship this whole time. That's going to be our street party. That's going to be like our Times Square vibe. So same thing, we'll have DJs, party there, and we're all going to ring in the new year together and celebrate 1980. You know, this year we're kind of looking at the cruise as celebrating 40 years of what we think is the greatest decade ever. So next year in 2020, it's turning 40.
So we'll actually hear some disco music then at some point that night.
I mean
we have to have a nod to disco.
Well, that's just
music.
it. I mean, we're gonna and we don't want to make it all about that, and we don't want everyone to get upset and be like, "We're coming on the '80s cruise. We don't want to hear this." So everyone just calm down. But yeah, for about an hour. That's why we're saying we're turning the clocks back at 11. So at 11 p.m. that'll kick off, and then we're just gonna start counting it down, and then midnight all across the ship we're hitting 1980. And jumping into everyone's favorite decade. So, should be fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I know this was an idea that you and I talked about. I think a lot of people are going to hear music from 1979 and remember how great it was then, too. I mean, in my mind, the 80s kind of started, at least musically, around 77. So everyone take a chill pill and just enjoy some fun music and some crazy memories, and we'll have a great time.
It's going to be just a neat night because it gives people options to do different stuff, and that's why we're trying to do the 3 different parties as well. So you've got some people who are maybe going to somewhat dress up, right? Like it's a big party. You're going to have the street party vibe where people are just wearing their 80s gear and whatnot, and then you've got the club vibe. I'm sure we'll have lots of noisemakers and confetti and all that good New Year's Eve type stuff.
And then the obligatory day after hangover will be vicious.
No worse than the obligatory week after the cruise hangover.
That's a whole nother story. So what else is new? What else can you reveal for us from the plans for 2020?
Well, we're going through all the programming really hard right now. We've been talking to all the artists and bands and getting everyone's feedback, what they want to do. So a lot of cool stuff, nothing quite set in stone. I mean, there's a bunch of new stuff this year, and we have a bunch of new people that we're excited about. So I know you did the podcast with Larry the Duck from First Wave, so we're excited to have him. He's going to be involved with a lot. In fact, we're going to ask him to help you guys, you and Brad, do the costume judging for the Big Pop Icon Night. We thought it'd be fun, and he was up for it. And he's never done the cruise before, so you had to give people a great chance who've maybe had the same costumes that they're bringing back. Some fresh eyes on it. So we're going to have him do that and a bunch of other stuff. He's going to definitely be hosting some new wave events. He wants to do some new wave karaoke and just whatever. So we're working with him. We also got Lori Majewski, who's from SiriusXM Volume channel, and she does a lot with Mark Goodman. So she's really going to help out on the interviews and a lot of the question answer sessions and behind the scenes events with the artists. So we're excited to have her as well. We have a brand new DJ. We haven't talked about him a whole lot, but his name is Travis Bell. This guy is just super interesting. I was doing some research, and a friend of mine told me to check him out. He and I ended up talking, and this guy is, he lives and breathes the 80s nonstop. It's pretty crazy. He owns a bunch of cars. He owns one of the kits from Knight Rider. He owns the ambulance from Cannonball Run. He had a General Lee. I don't know if he still has it. In fact, he was on VH1, and he jumped it, or a stuntman jumped it, but it was his car. So we'll probably might have to show some clips about that. He's just out there. He's crazy. And the coolest thing we're trying to do this year with him and Christopher J., who will also be doing a lot of DJ sets, the drummer from Berlin, who everyone loves.
Right.
You know, Chris J does such great sets, but then he'll do sets where he ties in video with it. And that's what's great about Travis as well, is he owns every single video from 1980s, and he owns a lot of MTV footage and all this. So he mixes a lot of that into his sets. And that's really what we want to try to do on the new ship, is really have a lot of visuals to go along with all the great music as well. So it's going to be fun to have him on board as well as a new guy. So
it sounds amazing. I can't wait. Obviously, everyone was stunned by the news this week that it's sold out. So people can still get on the waiting list, though,
yeah,
right?
You can do the waiting list. And that's just, someone always cancels or has a problem, can't get off work, and then they return their cabin, and then they start contacting people on the waiting list in the order that they put on there. So, yeah, we're excited. Every year it's pretty close to being full, but this is the first year it's 100% sold out. There is no more cabins. So we're about 6 months away. So now it's just producing a great cruise, which we're excited to do.
Yeah, it sounds like you're well on your way. Hey, Joey, thanks for joining the show this week.
Thanks, Steve. Say hi to Brad. We'll see you guys soon.
So there he is, Joey Fairchild from ECP, the production manager of the 80s Cruise. He and I hung around after the interview and talked about a couple other things we can't tell you about just yet. But there is one thing, and that's that to confirm everybody's question, there is going to be a graduation ceremony this year for seniors, those who've been on the ship 4 times now, just like there was last year for the original graduating class, which Brad and I were part of.
It's true.
But, Brad, of all those theme nights, which one do you think sounded the most interesting to you?
So, Steve, I love the information about the New Year's Eve party. I know that there's been some kind of rumblings about that around, and I think the way they have planned to execute that with the 3 different parties, that are the 3 different, this is the club scene party, and this is the concert party, and this is the street scene party. I think that's really clever. Yeah, that's going
to be interesting to see how they pull it off. New Year's Eve party was one of the ideas that I shot at them during the off season, and thankfully I guess a couple other people had as well, so it caught on. But it's weird because lately I've been listening to a lot more late 70s music, probably because we've been discussing it more on the show.
Yeah.
But also I don't know, there's something weird about, I'm going through a late 70s thing right now, trying to reclaim a youth that I can barely remember.
That is contained in all those beautiful yacht rock melodies.
The other thing that pops to mind, jocks versus nerds. Off the top of your head, which one are you thinking about dressing up for, jocks or nerds?
Gee, Steve, what do you think? I want to say, what I heard Joey say, and this may be me overanalyzing, but what I heard him say was not jocks versus nerds, but jocks and nerds. And that's a big difference.
Yeah, good point.
That's a big difference.
I wrote that down wrong. It's not a battle. It's a celebration. It's a coming together. So
yes. What if you're a smart jock? What do you do? I don't know. I'm not that.
Yeah.
I'm like, gee, I wonder if I can fit in my old drum major uniform. Ugh.
My athletic career in high school was limited to 1 play on the field as a sophomore on the football team. 1 play. I'm like the Rudy of the worst high school. Yeah, I'm the Rudy of the worst high school football team that ever was, and I still only got out there for 1 play. And did I get to sack the quarterback or anything? No.
Did they put you in garbage time?
The last play of the last game of the season.
Well, we got to get Spears it down, or else he won't come back to spring practice. Okay, put him in. What does he play? I don't even know. Just put him out there.
And I wasn't playing the position I was supposed to play. I was the backup center, and they put me in as defensive tackle for the last play of the last quarter of the last game against Largo High School, which we lost.
What number
6-0.
were you, Steve? What number?
I was number 52.
Okay, you still remember that, so it obviously holds some place in your heart.
Yes, it's a dark, charcoalish consistency, full of all sorts of complex emotions. So if you see me wandering around that night wearing a Garnett and Gold 52 jersey, you know probably best to stay away from me.
Or bring you a fresh bourbon.
Yeah, but there's something we cannot stay away from this episode, and that is
the seggies.
Aha! Listener Mailbag makes an unexpected return to the podcast. Wow.
It's so nice to hear from you all.
Yes, you answer the questions for the swag, but do you ever just drop by and say hello? No.
Do you ever call? Yeah, you only call when you need money. Come on, listeners.
We get 2 letters this week. The first one is from Son of Hugo. Why don't you take this one, Brad?
Son of Hugo writes, Dear Brad and Steve, your recent podcast with Larry the Duck Dunn was a treasure trove of new wave musical lore, and one of your best celebrity interviews, in my opinion. Like Brad noted, you're always wanting more of the music backstory from the Sirius XM DJs. Steve's exchange with Larry delivered. I'm sure the 2020 80s cruise will reveal even more of the magic that was WLIR, hopefully through an onboard podcast with Larry the Duck. Maybe you can also cover New Wave Dare to be Different in a future podcast. Thank you, and keep on doing what you're doing. Sincerely, Son of Hugo.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about doing a whole podcast just on that documentary. I think we covered so much of it during that talk with Larry. I'm not sure how we'd come back at it.
Well, I'll tell you what. As the veto power on that one, I'll watch it and decide if we're going to do a show.
Yeah, I mean, there's who knows? We'll see. It's an interesting idea. We'll consider it. Definitely.
Yeah, there may be an angle we could come in on that. Yeah,
watch it though. It's a great documentary. I'll bring the DVD on the cruise, Brad. So if you don't get a chance to see it before then, I'm sure you'll make time during our not so busy days on the ship to just sit there for 2.5 hours and watch that documentary.
I'll watch it as soon as I get caught up on Great British Bake Off.
Second letter from Maureen Ford. Brad, help me out.
Maureen writes, Hi, Steve and Brad. Thanks so much for the Larry the Duck interview this week. I messaged you guys last year about the WLIR movie, but I wasn't sure if it would resonate with you since you didn't grow up in the New York City area. I'm so glad it did. WLIR was a rite of passage growing up. We listened to the top 40 station, Z100, until we got some taste, then moved right into WLIR. It was a little hard to tune in from New Jersey. But by October of college, all freshmen had given up the top 40 radio stations and were listening to WLIR. You'd hear it blaring in every dorm room. I had British pen pals who would send me mixtapes so I could hear the latest in new wave hits, and usually I had already heard them on WLIR. Like you, First Wave is my favorite on Sirius XM, so much like WLIR. Thanks so much for always brightening my week, Maureen Ford.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad people liked that episode. It was fun to talk to Larry. I mean, you hear him every day on the radio, and such a nice guy. Really nice guy. Looking forward to hanging out with him on the ship. If you have a letter for us, just email us at podcast@sit80s.com.
But don't ask for money.
Please tell me now. Please tell me now.
Whoa, another long-time returning seggy here. It's Please Tell Me Now, where listeners can send in questions that Brad and I will sit and stare at for 2 months before we get around to answering them.
Like
this one.
It takes some time.
Like this, we like to
let them kind of stew a little.
This one's from Jamie Cruise the Roads in Talmadge, Ohio, and I'll read this one to give Brad a break. Hello, Steve and Brad. Hello, Jamie. I think the 80s had oh, touchy-feely there. I think the 80s had one of the biggest group of iconic vehicles in TV and movies, including the Wrath car, Kit and Car from Knight Rider, the A-Team van, the Fall Guy truck, the DeLorean from Back to the Future, Magnum PI's 308, the Street Hawk bike, Airwolf, Blue Thunder, and Firefox, just to name a few. My question to you, dear friends, if you could have but one, which would it be and why?
Your newest fan, always stuck in the 80s, Jamie cruised the roads from Talmadge, Ohio. Interesting. Okay, Brad.
Okay. Well, in true fashion of one of our favorite guest hosts, I have many choices here. I'm a little bit of a car guy, so my first immediately I went to the 1961 Ferrari GT 250 California Spider from Ferris Bueller. Oh, nice. It really is so choice, and if you have the means, which would need to be considerable at this point, I do highly recommend one, but it just was like, okay, that would be amazing. The next one I thought of was the 1973 Ford Falcon XB GT V8 Interceptor from the Road Warrior, just to, get to work a little quicker. I think people would probably move to the right for me if I came up behind them in that thing. But when I really thought about it, the vehicle for me, 2 words, Steve, and you know them. Once you hear them, you will hear the truth in them, and that is light cycle.
Tron, of course.
Oh, can you imagine? And why? You want to know why? Because if I have a light cycle, I'm on the f***ing grid, dude. That'd be so awesome.
No.
Should have never written all these tank programs. How about you, Steve? What do you got?
When I was in the 80s, I used to have this recurring dream. I think I may have said this on a podcast before. I used to have a recurring dream that my parents bought me a Trans Am, like a black Trans Am, like from Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
Which is technically not an 80s movie.
Yeah, but the car was pretty omnipresent in our beloved decade.
Right. So I would have this recurring dream that my parents had bought me a Trans Am, and the dreams were so vivid that every single time I had it, I would wake up and race to the window to see it in the driveway.
Are you saying, Steve,
never happened.
That the dream is always the same?
The dream was always the same. So that is my runner-up. But I'm going to take one of Jamie's picks here. I'm going to say the Russian jet fighter from Firefox is going to be my pick. I love Firefox in the movie. We never name check it on this podcast, but all I have to do is learn to think in Russian, and this plane is going to do everything for me. I'm not going to even have to fly it.
You still have to fly it, right? Don't you have to fly it? I thought that was just the weapon systems.
Okay, well,
See, I have seen this movie.
Jeez, got me on that. Anyway, I want the plane from Firefox. I can get to and from New York a lot faster than I am these days.
Well, that's true.
For those who are wondering, Hurricane Dorian did not hit Florida. I evacuated like a wuss. I ran up and spent the week with my girlfriend in New York City.
I think that's just prudent.
It was smart. And to be honest, when I left, I thought this place was going to be blown to bits by the time I got back, because it was a Category 5 hurricane, which is, it just levels everything it touches.
That's the real deal. Yeah.
And so I remember I took my insurance policy with me. I unplugged everything in the house, and I just was like, okay, bye house. I'll see you.
I hope I see you again.
Yeah, I'll see you when the insurance company, gives me a check that allows me to rebuild you. And of course, we didn't even lose power here, so knock on wood.
Yeah,
I escaped nature's vengeance once again.
So did all your ice cubes melt?
Yeah. No. The fridge I left plugged in.
Oh, okay.
Got to have priorities.
Okay.
Got to be able to have a bourbon when I get home.
I was a little surprised. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, so I'll take the Firefox, and we'll go from there. Maybe that'd be a good costume for one of those for Pop Icon night on the cruise. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's kind of creepy if I go around dressed like a Russian military jet pilot. So,
da, comrade.
Hey, that's all we have time for this week. We'll be back this weekend with a brand new show, and until then, Brad and I remain here, hopelessly stuck in the 80s.
Stuck in the 80s is a member of the CLNS Media Network. Special thanks to Check Battery Daily for our theme music. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or the CLNS Media mobile app.